Hi, it's me. Excuse me. And I am back. I'm back to talk about sampling or sampling logic. Sampling logic in the context of our course of study in research methods and information design, specifically qualitative research methods. Qualitative research methods. And what I want you to think about is the sample as an instance of world building, right? World building. Think of a science fiction novel or a fantasy novel. So part of the writer's task is to develop a world. Now, does the writer spend a lot of time writing, so giving you all this backstory to a universe that never existed? No, 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 no. Not unless you're J.R. Tolkien, who spent lots of time doing that. But so most writers just don't have the time, and nobody wants to read it. So what do? Okay, they allow you to infer from a limited number of characters in a limited number of situations to the world that surrounds them, to the world that lends substance and gives sense to their activities. So where world building is well done, things are consistent. Stuff isn't coming at you out of the blue and so forth. Cause and effect seem to work, even if the world is implausible, right? You see the one image of the woman with a staff, and there seems to be some sort of floating thing being towed by another floating thing. Okay, so now would this be a satisfying story? Could be. So if it seems like so events are logically ordered. So if it seems like there is cause and effect, if it seems like there's a world that would support these sorts of floating things, as the explanations seem to make sense. So Aristotle in his Poetics basically said, so things don't have to be real or natural as long as they're plausible. So as long as you can infer from the sample, so that is the characters and their situations, to a world that makes sense. So beneath the image of the woman with the staff is Singapore. An image from Singapore. This is the famous Interlace building, and so which you would, on its face, right? So just looking at the image, infer to a very different world, right? So the Interlace certainly plays with um, uh, architectural form, but in a way that's consistent with what? Our understanding of the laws of physics. So which is different than the image above. And again, the image above could be plausible. Say that, so the writer has found some interesting and plausible way to solve the problem of gravity. In this world. You can still infer to a plausible world with emotionally satisfying outcomes to engaging narratives. So based on the writer's sample, you too are tasked to do what? To infer from a sample to a universe, and by universe I mean like market universe. I mean universe like a bounded universe. I don't mean the larger universe, but you're taking a sample. Okay, so of designed objects to infer to a world of meaning. How does this sample make sense? So how is it plausible within a context that is inferred from the text, and the text is the sample? Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Okay, so recall, methodology solves the problem of reliability. Methodology solves the problem of reliability. Okay, so if we approach a condition, an object, a phenomenon the same way, we would expect the same outcomes. And methodology, if we have a rigorous methodology, that helps us achieve that standard. Someone who apply and sampling, yeah, it's like a sub methodology within methodology. So the method of sampling, the method of developing a sample, okay, so should follow this principle. Someone, anyone, who applies the same sampling criteria. The same sampling criteria. Criteria means what precisely? Well, in this case, it means rules of selection. Rules of selection to the same body of materials. Okay, so this could be an artist's oeuvre. This could be so wine labels that you stumble across in a a liquor store. Whatever you choose to sample, if somebody applies the same criteria, they should produce the same sample. In other words, if somebody is so if you want to sample wine labels, right? The graphic and textual and typographic content of wine labels and so forth. You would apply sampling criteria like vintage, price range, particular liquor store, chain of liquor stores, and so forth, in order to narrow down from every wine bottle in the store to a set of wine bottles. That is, bound your sample, make it manageable, set a quota. But if somebody else were to walk into the same wine store with your criteria written down on, say, an index card, or maybe a list on their phone, they would walk out with images of the same wine bottles, or walk out with a bag of the same wine bottles if they want to have like a really great night. Okay, so execution. Okay, so let's go to the protocol. I have a protocol. Develop a sample on qualitative grounds. Okay, so here are, okay, so here's the process. You allow your intuitions to guide you to a choice. You limit your selections. You justify your choice or choices on logical or empirical grounds. Your logical or empirical grounds cannot be, yeah, I really liked this one and I really liked that one. No, they have to be rules such that somebody else who does not share, perhaps, so your taste or aesthetic judgments or your whims or whimsy, would make the same selections. And you articulate your reasoning as sampling criteria in the form of rules. Okay, so you will specify a purpose. You will have a quota. Why will you have a quota? Because I don't want you to write a dissertation, please. And and you may or may not use critical case sampling. So critical case sampling is what? This is where you choose extremes. So in order to make a case, in order to case build, and so note the word case, right? Sisik gazu, take the case of. But you will have a purpose, you will have a quota, you may have some critical case sampling, or not. So your entire sample may be a case, right? For our purposes, you will use a combination of the three. Okay. Any other? Let's find any other. Insumate Devant sample. Okay. So execution. Any sent. So select a set of images that interests or provokes you. I'll give you examples in a moment. Set must be related in some way. That is the same artist or artists. Okay, so in other words, you can't just randomly select a number of canvases of different styles, period styles by different artists at different times and so forth. No, same artists or artists. That is an artist or a school of art. Or a school of design. Or or class of objects. Explore the same or similar themes, be of the same school or period style, be curated for the same or a similar purpose by the same curator or curators. And I'll show you examples of that in a moment. Specify selection criteria. I give you two examples of specifying collection criteria. Now, why do you want to do this? Okay, so you're going to be writing this into your methods section, so definitely record this. Set a quota, write up your precise sample specifications to use in your methods section. So selection method, quota, themes, or themes that provoked curiosity. Any other criteria. So theme or themes that select provoked curiosity. Here's where you use critical case language, right? So you have a purpose, and and you're selecting cases to explore within that purpose. Okay, back. Okay, so click. Wine labels, I already discussed wine labels, right? So another example might be Instagram posts. Say you have, I don't know, some influencer who's into nutrition or beauty or something like that, and you want to code a number of their posts for the semantic content of their images. That's fine. You would specify a date range, right? And so specify a quota, 4 or 5 posts. If they're rich, if they're not rich, maybe 10, I don't know, as many as you need in order to develop an interesting analysis. The richer, the fewer, the leaner, the more, right? But you'd specify a date range, and you'd specify why. Okay, so what's interesting about this? You know, is it the formation of norms or standards of beauty? Is it the formation of norms with respect to the preparation and consumption of food, if it's a food blog or something like that? So architectural features. Okay, these could be the volutes and whorls of a Gothic spire. So the hard edges and corners of a brutalist. One student actually did brutalist architecture. So album covers seems really popular. Typically I will have 1 or 2 students every semester who want to study. I'm blanking on his name. Anyway, images from events. I had one student in 2017 who did a brilliant study of images taken at the Charlottesville March, right? The infamous Charlottesville March. Anyway, so those are examples of classes of image or images that you can study. Okay, so how to crowdsource your sample? How to crowdsource your sampling criteria? Okay, so a technique I use all the time that I really like is found curations, right? So this person, Karen, host of the No Name podcast, posted this to Twitter. Roland Topor. Now, who knows her selection criteria? I don't care. All I know is that she selected them. She selected them. So in my methods section, I can say these were images curated by this blogger, art blogger. Okay, so certainly the association had meaning for her. But seriously, I am relieved of the burden of trying to read her mind. And I actually downloaded the images, and I think I'm going to use them for my sample paper. Because I'm going to write a paper along with you, and so as we go along through the week, so that I have something to show you. But I'm going to use these. Okay, and they look very unrelated, right? How will I code them? Well, if you we'll get to that later. Okay, so how to use DuckDuckGo. So I put Google here. Even though I don't use Google search, right, I still say Google this, Google that, which is very irritating to me. But how to use Google or DuckDuckGo. I use DuckDuckGo to crowdsource a sample. And here you see what? Topor. So this is the artist Topor, right? So if I didn't want to use Karen, I could Karen's curation. So I could crowdsource my selection to the entire web, right? So if I enter Topor Surrealism, click images, what do I get? Okay, so those top images, right? So the eyeball mouth and the duck ladder and the happy fingers. So those are all what? Those are the top ranked images. Because search engines typically use PageRank, that is, so they're ranking, so what they feed you based on, or what they return, so what they return against whatever query you enter. based on the number of incoming links and page hits and that sort of activity. It's aggregating a number of findings, right? So to do what? To rank these things and then feed them back to you. And so these are the top images. And so I would specify a quota. Let's go with 5 and take these first 5 images. And there we are. There's my sample. And I would just write that into my method section. That my method was what? So to crowdsource. My selection criteria. To the entire web, because DuckDuckGo and Google and so forth does what? It indexes the entire web. But I don't have to go that broad, right? I can use Pinterest to crowdsource a sample. So I enter Topor in Pinterest. These are the top returns from Pinterest, right? Now we just select the first 5. So I see this is Pinterest. I go here, just enter Topor. There we are. Or you can enter whatever you want. Let's try wine labels. Yeah, there we go. So this is how you could do that study. What the hell is that? That is a wine glass. Yeah, that's a wine glass. A wine glass. What? Okay, I'm getting distracted, sorry. Okay, back to here. So click, okay, how to use DeviantArt, right? So DeviantArt is a more specific community if you want to crowdsource to a specific community. Now you could use Tumblr, so you could use any number of communities where the sorts of things that you want to study are circulated. Let's click this and see what happens, like Reddit or... Oh, look at that. Oh my God. Thank you for not... Okay, nothing questionable came up. That's good. Okay, so install Google Translate extension to translate this page. Cancel. Translate what? But anyway, oh, look at this. Quite beautiful. All right, so well, I just click search here. Let's see. I don't know, dolphins? Oh, look at this. Oh, a dolphin woman. Another dolphin woman. So interesting gender. So dolphin appears interestingly gendered. Okay, so and gender will probably come out in whatever you study. So unless you're doing wine labels, I guess. Look at that. It's quite beautiful. Okay, so back to here. And so the anatomical frog. So how to use DeviantArt to curate a sample. So again, what have I shown you? I've shown you ways to curate your samples. This is all, you can find this in the, what is it? The protocol, right? The sampling protocol. So I give you examples there too. Okay, could I mix sampling methods? That is, could I go to Pinterest and DeviantArt? So could I do a date range of Instagram and so search beauty on Pinterest? No, absolutely not. Part of the game is consistency. Part of the game is consistency, continuity, consistency. Remember world building, right? So you want to be able to infer from your sample a universe that is plausible, that is consistent, and so forth. So the one informs the other informs the one. There we are, pass and review. So let me pass quickly in review. So sampling logic, the art of world building. Okay, so perhaps you've read a story or you've seen a film, so where the world building doesn't make any sense, and so things just seem to come at you one damned thing after another, and so forth. That's exactly the effect we do not want. So we want a sample that is characters, settings, scenes, all this stuff, all the elements of good storytelling that infers to a world. So an enveloping a world in which a world in which they inhabit that makes sense. So cause and effect, figure, ground, ground and antecedent consequence. All those things that we expect to be the case are there, right? So in our head, sometimes we think, chaos would be great. Chaos is never great. Okay, so methodology solves the problem of reliability. So our method begins with sampling. Sampling is sort of a method in itself. You are specifying rules, so selection criteria with which, so to apply to a body of materials, and with which anyone else armed with your sampling criteria would arrive at the same conclusion, the conclusion being your sample. Okay, so, why is this gentleman here? I Googled, see, I used the word, so I DuckDuckGo'd, so reliable guy. This guy came up. So he does look reliable. So he looks like, if you needed to move, he'd be there for you. If you needed a ride to the airport, he'd be there for you. Okay, so I showed you I showed you the protocol. Protocol. So talked about different things you could sample. So if you have something off the wall and you feel like, so please don't take any risks. So write me or see me during office hours and bounce the idea off of me. So how to crowdsource your sampling criteria. I talked about that. So one of my favorite tricks is just I follow a lot of people who post art and so forth, and so I just use their curating skills. But another method, simpler method, easier method, is simply to crowdsource your sampling criteria to an aggregator. So Google is an aggregator. DuckDuckGo is an aggregator. So it aggregates the entire web. A better choice is a narrower aggregator, right? So that is like aggregating to the Pinterest community. Lots of really great people there that are curating stuff. Or a niche community, and and there we are. Could I mix sampling methods? Absolutely not. And I have passed in review. So I have finished this particular task. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. So have a great rest of your day.